Today, I'm gonna show you 3 meals that are easy, cheap, and healthy. That's like the trifecta of weeknight cooking, basically. My criteria for putting together these recipes was pretty strict, so I wanna lay it out up front. Number 1, not 100% carbs. I need a mid to high level of protein in each one of these dishes. Number 2, veg heavy. I need at least 2 types of vegetables and I need a lot of them. Number 3, each dish needs to be very craveable. Anybody can make chicken and broccoli relatively healthy and relatively cheaply, but eating that way every single day is boring and it'll probably lead you to ordering takeout, which isn't cheap or healthy. Number 4, each dish needs to yield 4 portions. Number 5, each dish needs to cost less than $3 per portion. And then number 6, each dish needs to be able to be made in less than 30 minutes. Yes, this is a very, very ambitious set of rules, but it can definitely be done. And today, I'm gonna show you how to do it. The first dish is called Keema curry, and its flavors are super vibrant, it's pretty high protein, and it's full of vegetables. To make it, I'll start by cutting up the veggies. I'll grab 1 large white onion and cut it into a small-ish dice. In total, that'll end up being about 225 grams. Next, I'll grab 1 large russet potato, peel it, and then cut it into planks. From there, I'll cut those planks into strips and then cut those down into a medium dice. That's about 150 grams, more or less. Behind the potatoes, I'll grab 5 to 6 cloves of garlic and just smash those through my garlic press. About 20 to 25 grams in total. Now, to start cooking this dish, I'll grab a 12-inch nonstick pan and drop it on the stove over medium-high heat. First thing in is a long squiggle of olive oil, then my onions, the potato, and a strong pinch of salt. Next, I'll just stir that to combine real quick and saute these 2 things together for about 3 to 4 minutes. I want to cook this until the onion is starting to caramelize around the edges and the potato has gotten a head start on tenderness. When things are starting to look a little bit like breakfast hash, I'll add in my minced garlic and stir that to combine and saute for another 2 minutes or so. I just want to round off the sharp edge of that raw garlic. And once things are smelling garlicky, I'll move the sauteed veggies over to a bowl to hang out while I cook the next step. The pan's back over medium-high heat, then I'll drop in a squeezer of olive oil, then 1 pound of ground beef and a strong pinch of salt. By the way, I'm using 85-15 grass-fed ground beef from Aldi because it's a very good deal. But if you don't want to eat red meat, I get it. You could sub in ground chicken thighs instead. Now, using my ground beef masher, I'm going to smush this meat very well as I brown it. I'd say smush it more than you think too, because breaking down this beef eliminates any gristly chewiness and it'll give the beef more surface area to hold sauce later on. And once this beef is well broken down and browned off, I'll add in 5 grams of curry powder, 3 grams of garam masala, 5 grams of ground cumin, and then 25 grams of tomato paste. I'll just stir that in real quick and then fry these spices for about 30 seconds to wake up their aroma. Then in goes my cooked aromatics and potato. I'll give that a quick toss to combine. Then in goes 1 whole can of coconut milk. This cocoa milk is full fat, by the way. That's why it looks like that. Lastly, I'll add in a half can of water, or about 200 grams worth, then bring the whole thing up to a simmer and cook this until the sauce is reduced and the potatoes are tender, about 10 minutes or so. While that cooks, I'm gonna grab 1 5-ounce bag, or about 150 grams worth of baby spinach, and then chop it down a little bit. Why? Well, cooked whole leaves of spinach can be kind of slimy and chopping it helps integrate it into the beef. Back at the stove, it's been about 10 minutes now and my coconut sauce has reduced by half, and when I check the texture of my potatoes, you can see they're softened but not totally destroyed. I want some nice potatoey texture when I bite into them. From here, I'll add in a strong pinch of salt to season the whole dish. I'll stir that in. Then in goes 150 grams of frozen peas and then all of my chopped spinach. Now it's just a matter of slowly stirring all that together to wilt it down, and I'll cook that spinach for about 2 to 3 minutes. And there we go, a saucy, creamy dish full of bright green veggies. By the way, if your keema isn't particularly saucy, feel free to add in a little bit more stock or coconut milk to loosen it back up. Finally, to serve this dish, I'll throw it on top of some steamy white rice. And that's it. Keema curry, or ground beef curry, is hearty but not heavy and full of warm aromatic spice. I think of this dish as a mashup between shepherd's pie and the Indian aloo gobi. It's creamy, it's rich, it's craveable, and best of all, it only cost $11.82 to make. That's a portion cost of only $2.95. Here's the grocery bill for your reference, and by the way, I'm not including the cost of spices, salt, or olive oil, but yeah, This is a cheap dish that tastes super good, and I really hope you try it. Up next is a more accessible and fresher take on the Thai noodle dish pad woon sen. To make it, I'll grab a box of rice noodles, specifically the thin ones that are available at pretty much all grocery stores. Trad woon sen would call for bean thread noodles that I'm pretty sure would require 99% of you guys to make a special trip to an international grocery store, and I'm trying to keep this easy, so we're going with the reg rice noodles. Now to prep these, I'll throw them into a bowl and then cover them with hot water from the tap. The package would tell you to boil these noodles, and in my experience, that doesn't work at all. The noodles get super sticky and mushy, and it's a total mess. Now, once these are submerged, I'll set them aside to soak for 15 minutes while I finish up my prep. First up is the sweet and salty Thai stir-fry sauce. To make it, I'll combine 150 grams of water, 50 grams of soy sauce, 25 grams of fish sauce, 40 grams of brown sugar, and 125 grams of oyster sauce. To finish that, I'll just stir it to combine. That's an easy one. Next, I'll take one medium white onion and slice it from pole to pole pretty thinly. I'm looking for about 150 grams. Next, I'll take a half pound or about 225 grams of snow peas and slice those thin as well. Thinner veggies here work better because they incorporate much easier with the long, skinny noodles. The next veg is going to be red bell pepper. I've got 2 large ones here, and I'm just going to cut those down into thin strips that are slightly wider than a julienne. In total, we'll need 225 grams. Lastly, I'll smash 20 more grams of garlic through my garlic press, and then it's time to check back on the noodles. As you can see, after 15 minutes of soaking, these are a lot more malleable and hydrated. To make them easier to fit into my 12-inch saute pan, I'm going to cut these noodles in half by snipping them at the top where they loop with scissors. Then I'll drain off the liquid, and now we've got a noodle that's going to be much more manageable. Super long noodles tend to get tangled up pretty easily, making it super hard to fold everything together in the final dish. Next, I'll grab my 12-inch nonstick pan one more time, drop it on the stove over medium-high heat, and then thank Made In for sponsoring this video and making a really dope saute pan. Made In makes kitchenware that is designed for the home cook, but is good enough to be used in multiple 3 Michelin-starred restaurants. So, you know, it's professional quality. I use some kind of Made In nonstick pan pretty much every single day in my home kitchen, and today is no exception. The pan that I've been using in this video is the 12-inch nonstick fry pan, which is my absolute favorite for making multi-portion meals. Not only can you cook a lot of food quickly in this pan, but you can also cook it evenly. That's thanks to Made In using the same composition of their 5-ply stainless steel line underneath that nonstick coating. By the way, I've been beating up this pan all day today, and all I need to do to clean it is to give it a quick soapy rinse under some hot water. Plus, if you need to, you can throw this thing into a 500F oven and it'll stand up to the heat. If you want to have a look at the entire nonstick collection or check out any of Made In's other cookware, use my link in the description below to save some money on your next order. You guys, I genuinely love using Made In products, and I recommend them to any home cook shopping for quality cookware. Again, you can save on your next order by using the link in my description. Now, once this pan is nice and hot, I'll add in a long squiggle of high smoke point neutral oil, then I'll give it a little swirl to lube up the pan, then I'll crack in 4 large eggs. From there, I'll add a strong pinch of salt on top of the eggs, then I'll come back with a little spatula and break the yolks to scramble the whole thing up. I like scrambling the yolks and the whites together while cooking them because the result is a lot more dynamic than if you pre-scrambled. Some bites are white heavy or some are all yolk, and it's great. And once the eggs are cooked through like this, I'll move them over to a bowl to hang out while I cook the veggies. The pan's back on heat, another long squiggle of oil goes in, then I'll add in my snow peas, the peppers, the onions, and then a strong grip of salt. Ooh! Right away though, when I jump in and stir this, I'm realizing that this is too much food to cook properly at once. And a lot of you guys watching this are probably operating in a 10-inch environment, not a 12. So I think it's better to slide half of these veggies onto a plate off to the side and then put the other half back in the pan and stir fry in 2 batches. This way the pan's going to stay much hotter and the veggies are going to stir fry a lot closer to the way they would in a wok. And once the snap peas and peppers are kissed with some color and the onions have softened, I'll scoot the veggies into my egg bowl, then drop the pan back over medium-high heat. In goes the other half of my veggies, but this time I'm also going to add in 20 grams of minced garlic. From here, I'll stir fry this over medium-high for another 90 seconds, and once I've got some snappy but softened veggies and some good smelling garlic, I'll throw this pan over into the bowl and then drop the pan on the stove one last time. Now, before I cook anything else, I'm going to give this pan a quick wipe out to remove any burnt onion bits. Then in goes all of my stir fry sauce, and I'll bring that up to a ripping boil. When that's simmering, I'll add in all of my soaked noodles and then carefully stir those into the sauce toss to get them fully submerged. Now, this part goes really quick. I want to cook these noodles for only 30 seconds in the sauce. No more, because they'll start to clump and that'll make getting the veggies mixed in almost impossible. And after 30 seconds, the noodles are pliable and the sauce is about halfway absorbed. So I'm going to add everything that we've cooked so far back in and then carefully toss to get everything to combine. I'll start doing that with tongs, but those can only take you so far because they start to shred up the noodles. Eventually, I'll switch over to a toss maneuver because ultimately I think that's the best way to combine everything. And when this is done, the noodles should be softened but still have a touch of spring when you chew them, and the veggies should be all saucy and tangled up in those noodles. Now to plate this, I'll snuggle up 3 to 4 tongfuls into a low bowl, then serve with a little hot sauce, sriracha, or maybe a squeeze of lime juice. You guys, this dish is salty, sweet, full of fresh vegetable crunch, and has perfectly cooked noodles. That's actually pretty hard to do with these thin rice noodles. They get mushy fast. Now, the final cost for this dish is just $12.11. That's $3.03 per portion. Just like for the first dish, I didn't include any pantry items in the final cost here, but if you really wanted to get super detailed, I'd say the Asian pantry stuff would cost another 50 to 75 cents in total. Okay, the last dish is a mashup of the Italian wedding and minestrone soups. It's hearty, full of fun textures, and answers the question, soup for dinner, with an authoritative wee chef. To get started, I'll grab 1 large white onion and small dice it. In total, that'll be about 250 grams. And once I've got that cut up, I'll grab 4 to 5 medium carrots, peel them, and then cut them into a medium dice. These should be at least twice the size of the onions, and in total, I need 250 grams. Next, I'll grab 1 bunch of lacinato kale and rip off the woody stems, then grab the leaves, cut into long strips, and then cut those down into squares that are about 1 inch wide. Most home cooks put gigantic pieces of leafy greens in soup that don't fit on spoons, and it's not pleasant to eat in my opinion, so we want ours to be 1 inch or smaller. Behind the kale, I'll grab 20 more grams of garlic, or about 5 to 6 cloves, and smash those through the press. After the veg prep, I'm gonna grab 2 links of hot Italian sausage from the fridge. By the way, this is pork sausage, but if you know pork, then chicken sausage would also work. Now I'm just gonna zip open the casing and remove the sausage meat from both of these things. Instead of going through the trouble of making from scratch meatballs for this hearty Italian soup, I decided to just ball up sausage instead. Much faster and much easier. Now each one of these balls should be about the size of a marble, or maybe 10 grams each, and I'll just roll it in the palm of my hand until the meat is sticky and I've got them nicely rounded off. In total, 2 sausages should give you 25 to 30 balls, depending on how big you make them. Now to cook this soup, I'll grab a large stock pot and drop it over medium heat. Once that's hot, in goes a very generous squiggle of olive oil, then my onions, the carrots, the garlic, and then a strong pinch of salt to help draw out the moisture. From here, I'm just gonna stir and gently sweat these veggies for about 5 to 6 minutes, or until they're slightly softened and have lost a little bit of their water. Next, in goes 75 grams of better than bouillon chicken base, or any bouillon that you have on hand would work. Just use your best judgment to make sure that this thing's not getting too salty. Next, I'll add in 2,000 to 2,200 grams of store-bought chicken stock, or water would actually work. This stock isn't that flavorful. Then I'll bring this whole pot up to a simmer and add in 100 grams of elbow macaroni. I'll stir that in and scrape the bottom to make sure it doesn't get stuck. Then in goes all of my chopped kale. I'll stir that in, and then finally I'll add in all of my balled up Italian sausage. Instead of just scraping the whole plate in, I want to carefully add in a couple at a time to spread them over the whole surface area of the soup so that they don't clump and get smushed together. From here, I'll carefully stir things to combine and cook the kale and meatballs for the same amount of time it takes for the pasta to get tender, which is about 5 to 6 minutes. 5 to 6 minutes later, I'll come back and check the pasta to see if it's cooked through and to see if the carrots and kale are softened. Texturally, everything is tender but not mushy, which is what I'm looking for. So now it's time to finish this soup with 2 cans of white beans, both of which are semi-drained. Whatever liquid was sitting on top, I got rid of, but the rest of the bean liquid sitting with the beans is in there now. The last step here is to taste for seasoning. Now the bouillon was pretty salty, but I still think this needs just a touch more salt to reach its ultimate potential. To serve, I'll drop 3 to 4 large ladles worth into a big ol' soup bowl. Then I'll top with some grated Parmesan cheese, some cracked black pepper, and some bright, fresh tasting olive oil. The total cost for this soup, $11.75, putting us at $2.93 per portion. Here's the grocery list for your reference. And yeah, that's a cheap, delicious, rustic soup with little sausage meatballs in it. What else could you want for dinner on a weeknight? This soup's got a ton of different bites to keep you interested. You've got squishy sausage bites, you've got chickeny broth to sip on, and you've got springy pasta. Oh yeah, and there's beans in there too. So that's just 3 easy, cheap, and healthy meals that you can easily whip up in less than 30 minutes. Please let me know in the comments if you found this video useful, and if so, I'll try to make more like it in the future. If you guys want another video right now showcasing how to eat well on a budget, then please check out this video for 20 healthy meals for 30 US bucks. I'll see you there.